Hey guys, my name is Katy Haywood and I'm the CYFAR STEM coordinator for Richmond, Anson, and Marlboro counties. Today in our 4-H Daily Spark, we're going to be working with an after-dinner science kit titled, What's the Matter? Before we get into our actual experiment, let's talk about what matter is. Matter is anything that takes up space and has mass. Sometimes you can see matter very easily, and other times it's not so easy. Your favorite toy, for example, is matter, but so is the air you breathe. So how are they both matter? There are 3 states of matter: solid, liquid, and gas. The first state of matter, a solid, has a definite shape and volume. They're made up of molecules that are packed really close together. So an example of a solid is a piece of ice. The next state of matter is a liquid. Liquids have a definite volume, but do not have a shape of their own. They take the shape of the container that they are in. So for example, our honey doesn't really have a shape of its own, but because it's in this container, it is holding that shape. If we were to pour out the honey, it would be runny. It wouldn't have a shape of its own. The next state of matter is a gas. Gases do not have a fixed shape or volume. Instead, they take the shape of the container and float about freely. For example, water vapor, as you can see, is a gas. I can push down the water vapor, but there's really no shape. It just kind of floats about as it wants to. Water is a little more special than any other matter. It actually has the ability to change back and forth between all 3 states of matter. So we know that water itself is an actual liquid. You can see it here in my bowl, and you can see it dripping out of my hand. Then water can be frozen. The temperature can change, and it can be turned into ice, which is a solid. And then if you take the solid ice, melt it, create a liquid, which is your water, and then put it in a pot and put it on your stove and change the temperature again to make it hotter, it will boil and it will create evaporation and it will turn into a gas. That evaporation is a gas. So water can actually turn into all 3 different states of matter. To do this experiment, you will need coconut oil or butter. If you have a coconut allergy, please use the butter for this experiment. You'll also need an open container, and it's easier if you have one that you can see through. First, what we're going to do is we're going to take our coconut oil, which is a solid, and I'm going to hold it in my hand. And I told you guys earlier that a human body is usually about 96 to 98 degrees Fahrenheit. So I know my temperature is 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. And so I'm going to hold this coconut oil in my hand. So after working with our coconut oil and making it hotter and hotter, we have a fully liquid state here, and you can see it as I'm swirling around in our bowl. And this is what it started as the solid, and we applied heat and increased the temperature, and now we have this liquid. If you're using butter, your butter went from the solid form in the stick to this liquid that we have here in our bowl. Another part of this experiment could be to take your coconut oil, your solid coconut oil, and put it outside in the sun. Today it is about 65 degrees outside, so we'll see what happens when my assistant puts our coconut oil out in the direct sunlight. So I have 3 bowls here. One is our melted butter that we melted in our hand. One is our coconut oil that we melted in our hand. And then the last is the coconut oil that we sat outside in the sunlight. Now, this doesn't look like a liquid, does it? If you remember correctly, I said that it was about 65 degrees outside today. So, it was not hot enough to turn our solid coconut oil into a liquid. Our body temperature, however, was close to 98 degrees. So it was hot enough for us to turn our coconut oil into a liquid. So now what you want to do is you want to leave your states of matter out in your house. The average temperature of a home is between 68 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit. So we're going to leave it out and wait until it gets room temperature to see if that temperature changes our state of matter again. So we have left our coconut oil and our butter in a liquid state out on my kitchen counter for a couple hours. And as you can see, it has turned into a solid once again. Same thing with our butter. It has turned into a solid. Our coconut oil that we sat outside that really didn't change into a liquid because it was so cold outside is still the same state in a room temperature situation. So we have our 3 different states of matter here. We started with a solid. We then melted these 2 in our hand using our body temperature, and they turned into a liquid. And now at room temperature, they are all once again a solid. Thanks for watching today's 4-H Spark. I hope you have enjoyed experimenting with our 3 states of matter. A fun experiment to do with a caregiver is to work with water and turn it into that ice, which is our solid, melt it into our liquid, which is the water, and then boil it to see it as a gas, which is the water vapor. I hope you guys have a great day. Thanks for watching our 4-H Daily Spark.